Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, despite having a recent heart attack, says he is staying in the race and will be at the next upcoming presidential debate. His doctor's advice aside, what would yours be?
I think he's good. He's got it taken care of, and he's back at it. I have no concerns, no worries there.
How are you feeling, Senator?
This isn't easy. It's a very stressful type of thing. I think you ought to take a break.
Be smart, save your health, get out of it, and be well.
Look at history. We had a president who was in a wheelchair for 12 years, Franklin Roosevelt, who
that
was
is true.
Far frailer health than Bernie Sanders is now. And he served as commander-in-chief and was one of our greatest.
Bernie, how are you feeling?
Great, thank you.
I think it's still early enough where, I mean, I think down the line the health will become more of a question.
I think it's a big concern, and it may send voters in a different direction.
Anyone can recover from a heart attack with the right treatment. I feel like, a young person, an old person, as long as
He's 78.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're in, stay in, run, Bernie, run.
Yeah, I'm feeling the burn.
See you soon on the campaign trail.
Feeling the burn. It's time now for a Sunday Roundtable, and we're joined this week by Democratic political analyst Marianne Marston, State Rep Hannah Kane, a Republican from the 11th Worcester District. Hannah, let me start with you. Just based on that, is it bye-bye time for Bernie? What do you think?
I think it should be. I don't necessarily know that that's the decision he's going to make immediately. One of the things I wonder, does he stay in the race for a bit and try and take out one of the two front runners and cede some of his followers over to somebody else? The natural person he would do that to would be Elizabeth Warren, because she's taken all of the things that he cares about and made her own. So I don't know. He could do that.
What do you think, Marianne? Should he step out? Should he just, accept the fact that he had a heart attack and move on, or stay the course?
Well, Bernie's not going to say goodbye, but his supporters already were before this happened, right? He's been sliding in the polls. Now he has a heart attack. They didn't handle it particularly well. There wasn't a lot of transparency there. It took them a long time to come out with the facts. And then his own public appearance about it, he basically said he was going to do this differently, seeded a lot of doubts there. He's backtracked on that, but to Hannah's point, he's got $25 million he raised this last quarter. He's got a ton of money. Last time he did this, is he going to be the kingmaker or the breaker? He stayed in all the way at the end against Hillary Clinton. He might do the same thing here, but he'll never be the nominee.
This last quarter of money is going to be kind of interesting.
We'll
find out in January. So there was a bunch of new polls this past week. Quinnipiac poll, while good news for Elizabeth Warren when stacked up against her Democratic opponents, was laced with a little bit of bad news when she goes head-to-head with Donald Trump. Joe Biden still looks strong right now against the president. He looks stronger than she does. What's the warning signals here? What do you think, Hannah?
It's not that much of a difference between where she stands against Trump and where Joe Biden does. So to me, that's not the biggest news. I think ultimately this is going to come down to whether or not the support that she has ends up being in the right places from an electoral college perspective. And I think that's what people need to be looking at. You can gin up a ton of support, but if it's in places you're already going to win, that's not going to move the dial in terms of making sure that it's not just a popular vote win for the Democrats, that they have the electoral college to go with them.
Is Hannah right about that, Marianne?
Well, I think in terms of Biden's biggest problem is Biden still. He got into this race saying, I'm the best person to beat Trump. While the numbers say that, Democratic voters don't seem to think that right now for the nomination. That is his big challenge. But when you look at the Biden-Trump, Warren-Trump matchups, when you go into the crosstabs, which I did, Warren and Biden are about the same everywhere, 2, 3, 4 point difference. But the big difference is Biden beats Trump amongst Hispanics by 27%. Warren only does it by 16%. What that says to me is Hispanic men aren't going to vote for a woman. They'll vote for any man, including Donald Trump, who's been terrible to Hispanics, rather than vote for a woman. And that's something she's going to have to tackle.
Very interesting.
So the next topic I want to talk about is the other side of the aisle. And there is talk of former Massachusetts governor, current Utah Senator Mitt Romney, taking a lead in the effort to unite Republican senators willing to stray from the party line and find the 20 votes that are needed to convict the president if the House impeaches. Marianne, is Mitt Romney the Republican leader?
No, well, look, this is a very, very smart, savvy move by Mitt Romney. If he can round up those 22 votes and Trump and Pence get impeached, because it's a package deal, Mitt Romney's not only the de facto Republican Party leader, he'll be the Republican Party nominee because he was the last Republican nominee before Donald Trump. So I think he looks at this as the way for him finally to get to the White House, but buckle up. It's going to be a hell of a ride between now and then, and the one who has to buckle up the most is Donald Trump.
Wow, you look at this as a path to 1600 Pennsylvania
Why
Avenue.
else would he do it?
Oh, okay.
Well, I think he also is doing it, quite frankly, because he doesn't have another election until 2024. So of all the Republicans there, he also has some runway. And in Utah, he is much more favorable than President Trump is. So he has all of this political capital there, and he's going to use it, I think, to his advantage.
Smart.
Back here at home, Governor Charlie Baker released his $18 billion transportation and roads capital plan. Most of the money is going to go towards bridges and highways. The MBTA gets only about $6 billion or so. So 2 questions here. Is there enough public transit, and is it possible to do it without new taxes, as Charlie Baker claims, Governor Baker claims, or he insists, I should say, Marianne?
So we were talking about this in the green room. I mean, the numbers look big, and it looks like it's a big deal, a big approach, a big bill. And the reality is, it's not enough. It's a good first step in the right direction, but it comes nowhere close to what we need. When you look at the fact that transportation affects every other single problem that we have, if it's the biggest problem, it needs the biggest solution, and this is not the biggest solution.
Hannah, you actually get to vote on this, so tell me what you think.
Theoretically, I do. I hope I do. You know, here's the thing. $8.2 billion over the next 5 years in terms of capital investment. It's more than 2.5 times what was done in the preceding 5 years. You know, half the money that the T had able to put out the door for capital projects pre this administration wasn't being used. So we've come a long way in terms of the investment we're putting in. The governor, the administration feels that we can continue to do this without raising taxes. But part of what's important in that transportation bond bill is also some capabilities that we don't have today. Part of it is valuing time. So today we have to take lowest bid. If you had a $100 million bid, but they said it's going to take a year, someone comes in at $101 million and says they can do it in 4 months, we can't take that bid. We need to also think about how do we actually make these investments in a way which is less congestion, less pain for people to get through at the time, and to speed them up. So there's a lot in there that we need to consider as a legislature.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and to be able to do it right. I mean, these problems have been around for a long, long time, but now we're at critical mass, and it needs a critical solution.
How likely do you think it is that you'll get to actually vote on it this year?
I think we're going to be able to vote on it. I do.
Great. We'll be right back.